Hello everyone and Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and every other good thing in between. Welcome back to the final average review for Christmas Day 2024. And I'm going out with a bang with the McFarlane DC Multiverse Planet Rann Swamp Thing. With your blessing, I've decided to skip over going over the packaging since, who really cares? It's the standard DC Multiverse Megafig box. Nothing special there. Although I have kept the box so that we can compare the artwork to the figure in this upcoming section on the sculpting and paintwork on this guy. So let's take a look at him. Now, the first thing you'll probably notice is that instead of the grassy greens of your average Swamp Thing figure, this guy's a fiery red, orange, and yellow. And that's for good reason. He isn't made up of the plant life from the planet Earth. No, as the title of the figure implies, he's made up of plant life from the planet Rann, which also happens to be the secondary home of the cosmic faring DC hero Adam Strange. In fact, the very end of the card description on this figure actually mentions Adam Strange by name. So, I'm expecting we actually might get an Adam Strange figure in the DC Multiverse line soon. Another thing you may have noticed, this guy is pretty dang massive. In fact, he is a whopping 11.5 inches tall. So yeah, pretty dang big for a figure in the DC Multiverse line. And hey, I mean, they didn't just get the size right, they got the sculpting right too. There is so much detail on this figure that it is astounding. They did release a Swamp Thing previously in the DC Multiverse line, so I assume there's a bit of reuse, but there's plenty of new stuff here. From the seemingly berry or cactus-like plants on his chest and his head, to all the tree bark and plant roots going down throughout all the body. Like I said, the amount of detail is astounding. Just turning the figure around and just looking at the torso and the upper legs, it's amazing how much sculpting they packed into this one figure. Also, his face kind of terrifies me. I don't know how to explain it, but it just looks horrifying. The lower legs and feet are really well sculpted. The feet especially give off the feeling of this guy being made of swamp and plant life. I also really like this almost fur collar-like string of plants and berries on his back. Now, I have two complaints on how this figure looks. One is the bits of yellow dry brushing that are on some parts of the figure, like the thighs, shoulders, chest, and head. Not that they're there. No. I actually really like them. They bring out the details and look fantastic, but it's the fact that they're only there. And it's especially notable on the back, where there's nothing. I don't really think there needs to be yellow dry brushing on every part of the figure, since, I like that there's plenty of red visible. But I mean, look at how much yellow's on the front, and then on the back. It's especially noticeable with the berries, where on the head and torso, they've got plenty of yellow dry brushing, but then, just right around here, it abruptly stops. That's my major complaint with this figure, but a minor one I have. My other complaint, though, is with the eyes. You can see on the box art that they're red eyes with yellow pupils. But then on the figure, they're the creepy, horrifying, normal human eyes. How are the more unnatural, purposefully scary eyes less scary than the ones on this actual figure? Still, though, despite those two grievances, I am a really big fan of how this Swamp Thing figure looks. But looks are about a fourth of the battle. Another fourth that'll make up half the battle is the posability on this guy. So why not we see how old Swampy can move? Now, his head is on a dumbbell joint, which lets him look up this far, look down this far, which is pretty good for a figure this big, tilt a little side to side, and turn around. He's got a rotator cuff, which gets you a bit of wobbling around, arms that can spin all the way around, and hinge up less than 90 degrees because of this shoulder pad-like protrusion. Now, he does have bicep swivel, but for the life of me, I can't get it to turn, so it might as well not be there. But what is pretty useful is the single jointed elbows that actually get some swivel side to side. Moving over to his horrific claws, and they're actually a lot more traditional than the usual McFarlane wrist articulation. They can spin all the way around and hinge up and down. And hey, they get a pretty good range admittedly. What is less impressive is the diaphragm joint and ball jointed waist. They bend forward, pretty much not at all. They get a bit of bend back, not really, well, a little tilt side to side, and a bit of twist at the diaphragm, but a little better twist at the ball jointed waist. Moving down to his tree trunk legs, and he's got the traditional McFarlane hip articulation. They let him kick forward an honestly impressive amount, and get a really, really good split. They also get a lot more turn than usual, so I don't know, maybe I could see you using the McFarlane hip turning articulation for once. But what you could obviously use, as I've said throughout these past 3 reviews, is the double jointed knees. Even though they have a bit of resistance, they get a pretty much perfect bend, which is very nice. Now, he has the standard McFarlane ankle ball articulation, where they spin around, get a little pivot side to side, and hinge backwards and forwards, along with the ever-beloved McFarlane Toys toe articulation. So hey, not bad. Usually McFarlane figures are lacking in the torso anyways, and the only real lacking section is the arm articulation, but I mean, limited range in the arms of a figure this big and chunky are usually pretty expected. Moving on to comparisons though, and we have the standard male and female bodies that I use for these comparisons: Renew Your Vows, Spider-Man, and Spinneret. Yeah, as predicted, these guys are dwarfed by the massive size of Swamp Thing. You know, I would have moved to the next comparison by now, but I'm kinda blanking. I don't have many fitting figures to compare with this guy. I mean, I'm pretty sure Swamp Thing was on Justice League Dark, right? Well, the promise of JL Dark comparisons I can't amend, for I only have the demon, Etrigan. Plants photosynthesize and Superman gets his powers from the sun. That's like photosynthesis. So here's the DC Universe Classics and McFarlane Atomic Skull 2-pack versions of Superman. See, I can think of stuff. Oh, and Ra's al Ghul in the comics, he cares a lot about the environment. That's kind of his main motivation. So here's the McFarlane Arkham City version. Man, I wish I had the Poison Ivy from the Batman and Robin wave. That would be like really convenient right now. Here's Swamp Thing with the Nightfall Batman, because, I mean, he's Batman. They've probably, like, interacted before. They might be on first initial basis. I don't know. But I do know Wonder Woman and Aquaman get along with Swamp Thing. Wonder Woman's from the Last Night on Earth wave, and Aquaman is from the Endless Winter wave. See, I could actually think of some comparisons for this Swamp Thing figure, even though I don't really collect that mystic Justice League Dark side of the DC Universe yet. And most of the comparisons just ended up being like the DC Trinity, which I would be comparing with him anyways. Huh. But as is tradition, here's Hit Monkey and Goliath with the McFarlane DC Multiverse Planet Rann Swamp Thing, and oh my god, Swamp Thing and Goliath are nearly eye to eye. I mean, good lord. Now, you may think, since this guy is so big, that he wouldn't come with any accessories like a lot of other Megafigs. Well, I am very glad that you are oh so wrong. Now, granted, two of them are the usual suspects, the standard McFarlane figure stand, which is way too small for these Megafigs, and a regular trading card. I've already shown you, the back of it, where it mentions Adam Strange. Ooh, that'll be an exciting release when it happens. It might not happen. But, hey, it's always nice to have more of these figure stands, because they're pretty useful. But he also comes with a nice pair of interchangeable fists to replace the claw hands. Now, I never personally thought of Swamp Thing as the guy to start resorting to regular old fisticuffs, but I guess that just means I need to read more Swamp Thing comics. Granted, I'm still probably gonna display him with the claw hands, since those just look way cooler to me. Now, in terms of searching for this guy, well, on Amazon right now, he's going for $42, but he's on pre-order and won't be shipped until around January 5th or the 6th. But my dad found this guy at GameStop already released. So, you might want to go track this guy down at some physical stores for the same price I just mentioned. And honestly, yeah, I'd say this guy's pretty worth tracking down, especially if you don't already have a McFarlane Swamp Thing, or just any Swamp Thing in general. I do have my gripes with him, like the lack of yellow dry brushing on other parts of the figure, and also his overall limited posability, but I think the overall size, sculpting, and the neat little accessories that he does come with more than make up for it. So I'm going to give the McFarlane DC Multiverse Planet Rann Swamp Thing an, in my opinion, deserved 8 out of 10. It could be better, but it could be way worse, and an 8 out of 10 is nothing to scoff at. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed these 3 special Christmas Day reviews. I'm gonna be going to take a nice, deserved rest, but I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, everything else in between, and remember, Have a smashing New Year!